Welcome back to the GMP and Quality Fundamentals series, and this is Lecture 15. In Lecture 14, we covered method validation and verification. We talked about proving that a method works. But here is a question that a lot of labs struggle to answer. What happens after that? What happens to a method once it is validated and in use? That is exactly what this lecture is about. Method Lifecycle Management. The full picture, from the moment a method is designed all the way to the day it is retired. Let us get into it. Here is what we will cover today. Number 1, you will understand the full 5-stage life cycle of an analytical method. Number 2, you will learn what method monitoring is, why it is required, and how it is done in practice. Number 3, you will understand the method transfer process, from the protocol through to the final report. Number 4, you will know when a method needs revalidation or re-verification after a change, and how to make that decision. And number 5, you will see how the life cycle connects to the rest of your GMP quality system. Let us start with the big picture. Every analytical method in a GMP environment goes through 5 stages during its life. Stage 1 is development and validation. This is where the method is designed, optimized, and proven to be fit for purpose through a formal validation exercise per ICHQ 2-R1. This is what we covered in Lecture 14. Stage 2 is implementation and training. The method enters routine use. Analysts are trained, the SOP is issued, and system suitability is confirmed on the actual equipment that will be used. Stage 3 is routine use and monitoring. This is the longest stage. The method runs every day, or every week. And during this time you must continuously monitor its performance to make sure it is still doing what it was validated to do. Stage 4 is change and revalidation. Something changes. A new instrument. A different column brand. A new matrix. And you must assess whether that change affects the method, and if so, what level of revalidation is needed. Stage 5 is transfer or retirement. Eventually the method either moves to another site, or it is retired because the product has been discontinued. These 5 stages are the complete life cycle. Let us now go through each one in detail. Stages 1 and 2. Development, validation, and implementation. In Stage 1, the method is designed and validated before it ever touches a GMP sample. A validation protocol is approved by QA before any experiments begin. This is critical. You define your acceptance criteria before you see the data. That is a data integrity requirement, not a preference. All the relevant parameters are demonstrated as we discussed in Lecture 14. Specificity, linearity, accuracy, precision, and the others required for your method type. Everything is documented in a validation report that QA reviews and approves. In Stage 2, the method enters the lab. An SOP is written that reflects the method exactly as it was validated. Every analyst who will run the method must complete documented training before they are allowed to use it for GMP testing. Equipment must be qualified. The right column, the right grade of reagents, the right reference standards. And on day 1 of use, system suitability is run to confirm that everything works together in your specific laboratory with your specific equipment. This is the handshake between the validation work and real-world routine use. Stage 3. Routine use and monitoring. Here is the key mindset shift. In many labs, once a method is validated, people assume the job is done. It is not. A validated method in a validated state today can drift out of that state tomorrow if conditions change. Your job during routine use is to detect that drift before it causes an OS result or affects a batch release decision. There are 2 main tools for ongoing method monitoring. The first is system suitability testing. You run this at the start of every analytical sequence, before you test a single sample. System suitability checks specific performance parameters defined in the method SOP. These typically include column plate count, peak tailing factor, resolution between critical peaks, and injection repeatability. If system suitability fails, the run is invalid. You do not force it through. You investigate. Find the cause. Fix it. Then repeat the system suitability before any sample data is accepted. The second tool is Statistical Process Control, or SPC. This is a more powerful and proactive approach. You track method performance over time using control charts. You plot the retention time of your reference peak, the peak area of a system suitability standard, or your precision data, every single run. And you watch for trends. Warning limits at 2 standard deviations flag a drift that needs watching. Control limits at 3 standard deviations stop the process. The power of SPC is that you can detect a failing column, a degrading reagent, or an instrument calibration drift weeks before it causes an OS result. That is the difference between reactive quality and proactive quality. Also within Stage 3, there is an important formal activity. The annual method review. Most GMP quality systems require that every validated method is formally reviewed once a year. This is not a casual check. It is a documented review that looks at the past 12 months of performance data and asks one question. Is this method still valid, still performing, and still fit for purpose? The review covers 5 areas. First, OS and OT results. How many failed results did this method generate in the past year? Are any of them linked to method performance rather than product failure? Second, equipment changes. Were any instruments, columns, or reagent lots changed during the year? Were those changes properly assessed through change control? Third, analyst performance. Are all analysts still qualified on the current version of the method? Was there any significant interanalyst variability observed? Fourth, SOP compliance. Was the method followed as written every time? Were any deviations raised that relate to this method? And fifth, the revalidation decision. Based on everything reviewed, does the method need to be updated, partially revalidated, or can it continue unchanged for another year? This annual review is often what FDA and EMA inspectors ask to see during an inspection. It is one of the clearest demonstrations that you are actively managing your methods rather than just filing them away after validation. Stage 4. Change management and revalidation. This is one of the most practically important topics in method lifecycle management. Because things always change. Instruments get replaced. Columns come from different manufacturing lots. Suppliers change. Products get reformulated. And every one of those changes needs to be assessed for its potential impact on the validated method. The key principle from ICHQ 2R1 is this. Any change that could affect the performance characteristics of the method requires a documented assessment. That assessment determines how much revalidation, if any, is needed. Let me give you some examples of what typically requires full revalidation. Moving to a completely new instrument platform. A major change to the mobile phase composition, or pH. Changing the column chemistry, for example from C18 to C8. A change in the sample matrix, such as a new product formulation. And extending the method to cover a wider concentration range or a new analyte. Now, not every change needs full revalidation. Some changes require only partial revalidation or reverification. For example, switching to the same column chemistry from a different brand or lot, you typically need to recheck specificity and precision only. Replacing an instrument with an equivalent model, you confirm system suitability and precision. A minor gradient time adjustment, you recheck system suitability parameters. The key discipline is this. Every change goes through change control. The change control assessment answers the question, what is the risk to method performance? And the answer to that question determines the scope of the revalidation work. Stage 5, Part 1. Method transfer. When a product moves from one site to another, or when a contract laboratory takes over testing, the validated method must be formally transferred. This is not simply emailing the SOP to the receiving lab and assuming they can run it. Method transfer is a formal, documented process with regulatory implications. It works in 5 steps. Step 1. A transfer protocol is written and approved by QA before any testing begins. It defines exactly what will be tested, what samples will be used, what the acceptance criteria are, who is responsible, and what the timeline is. Both the sending site and the receiving site must agree to and sign off on this protocol. Step 2. The receiving laboratory prepares. Analysts are trained. Equipment is qualified. The right reagents, columns, and reference standards are in place. Step 3. Both laboratories analyze the same set of samples in parallel. The same samples, the same concentrations, run independently by each lab. Step 4. The results are compared statistically. This is typically done using a t-test or an equivalence approach. The results from both labs must fall within the predefined acceptance criteria. If they do, the transfer passes. If they do not, you investigate and may need to repeat testing or make adjustments. Step 5. A transfer report is completed. It documents everything: the protocol, the raw data, the statistical analysis, the pass or fail conclusion. QA must review and approve this report before the receiving lab can use the method for any GMP testing. Stage 5, Part 2. Method retirement. When a product is discontinued, when a better method replaces an old one, or when a regulatory requirement makes a method obsolete, the method must be formally retired. And this is an area where many labs are sloppy. They simply stop using the method and move on. That is not acceptable in a GMP environment. Retirement happens through change control. The decision to retire the method is formally documented with the rationale. The SOP is withdrawn and marked as obsolete. It must not be accessible to analysts for future use. The validation documentation is archived according to your data retention policy. In the pharmaceutical industry, this is typically 15 to 30 years depending on your local regulations and the product type. Data does not get deleted. It gets archived in a controlled, retrievable manner. Any reference standards, reagents, or materials specific to this method are disposed of with appropriate documentation. And one important point: if the method is being replaced by a new or updated method, the retirement of the old method and the approval of the new one should happen in a coordinated way through the change control system so there is no gap in coverage. Now let us connect all of this to your wider GMP quality system. Because method lifecycle management does not exist in isolation. It touches almost every element of your quality system. Change control is the gateway for all method changes and the formal mechanism for retirement. Deviation management is where OS and OT results that may be related to method performance get investigated. A root cause analysis that concludes the method is contributing to failures triggers a CAPA. The CAPA system handles the corrective actions. If monitoring reveals a systematic problem with the method, the CAPA might involve partial revalidation, SOP update, or retraining of analysts. Document control ensures that only the current approved version of the method SOP is accessible. Obsolete versions are withdrawn and controlled. Training records must reflect the current version. Every time the method SOP is revised, the affected analysts need documented training on the new version before they can use it for GMP testing. And finally, the annual product quality review. This document, which is required by both FDA and EMA, includes a review of analytical method performance. Inspectors look at whether methods are being monitored, whether performance is stable, and whether the life cycle is being actively managed. Method lifecycle management is not just a laboratory activity. It is a quality system activity. Let us bring it all together. 6 things to remember from this lecture. Number 1. A validated method is the starting point, not the finish line. The life cycle begins the day after validation is complete. Number 2. System suitability and statistical process control are your ongoing evidence that the method is still performing as validated. Run them consistently. Plot them. Watch for trends. Number 3. Annual method review is a formal GMP requirement. It is the documented health check that your quality system performs on every validated method every year. Number 4. Every change must be assessed through change control. The assessment determines whether full revalidation, partial revalidation, or only reverification is needed. Every decision must be documented. Number 5. Method transfer is a formal process. Protocol, parallel testing, statistical comparison, QA-approved report. Skipping any of these steps is a finding in any regulatory inspection. Number 6. Retirement is controlled. Obsolete methods are formally withdrawn through change control. All documentation is archived for the required retention period. That is Lecture 15 complete. Coming next in Lecture 16, we look at quality KPIs and metrics. How do you actually measure whether your quality system is working? What numbers matter? What do you track? How do you present performance to management and regulators? That lecture will give you a practical set of tools for measuring quality performance. If this lecture was useful, please give it a like. Subscribe if you are not already. And leave your questions in the comments below. I reply to every single one. I will see you in Lecture 16.